Welcome to my podcast. I go by the name of X Louis. Thank you for tuning in and dedicating the time to watch this. I rushed my very first episode with no introduction. I just threw a topic out there and just started talking about it. I was very nervous about starting a podcast, and I kept on having all these reasons not to do it. So I forced myself to find a topic, talk about it, and just throw it out there just to get into the groove of things. But caught a lot of people off guard. A great message and everything, but nobody knows what this is or what's going on. So I want to talk about what this podcast is and the meaning behind it and what really started it all and why I decided to do it. So I'm just going to start off with the name of my podcast. It's called How You Doing? Very blatant and very simple. I feel like these days, everybody just says, hey, how you doing to everybody they see without a second thought. There's no substance to it. It's just being courteous. Nobody really gives a fuck about how you're doing for real. And oftentimes I've realized it's a very deep question. Everybody has their own life, has their own situations that they got going on. And sometimes when you ask somebody how they're doing and they just say, I'm okay or I'm fine. But most of the time that's really not the case. You just never know what somebody got going on and what they're going through. So I want to use this podcast to talk about me specifically and how I'm doing. One thing I've learned as I grow up and I continue to live life. Some things that one person might be going through might pave a way for you with what you have going on. During this podcast, I will talk about my life and certain things that I got going on and certain things that I have been through and how I'm really doing in different phases of my life. And I want to relay these messages and these stories over to whoever's watching. But I also want to use this platform as a way for the viewers to express themselves. Anytime you see a video, whether it's on TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram, or wherever you find my video, and I start the podcast and just ask you how you're doing, you can DM me if you have something going on in private, or you can just go in the comments and just really vent on how you're really doing in life and what you got going on. Whether it's I got a new job or my boyfriend left me or somebody dear to me passed away or whatever you got going on. Just we lie about how we feel all the time. I want this podcast to be a space where people can really truly vent what they have going on in their lives and use it to cope and as a roadmap to just life in general. What I'm going to be talking about today during this episode is one of the most pivotal moments of my life that placed me where I am currently today. And it was a very intense time in my life, and it made me pivot on the way I was living my life, from the decisions I was making to the way I think, to the way I moved, the people I hung around. And it really got me to where I am today. This story begins back in 2019. Just to give a backstory of what led to this. So 2018, I worked a full-time job and I was also a full-time college student. I had absolutely no time to do anything I wanted to do. I would wake up at 5 a.m., clock into my job at 7 a.m. By the time I clock out around 3 or 4, I would drive to school, take about an hour. And by the time I get to school, I would have class till 8, 9 o'clock. And by the time I left school and went back home and I got home, it was like 11 p.m. So my entire life at that point, all I did was go to school and go to work. I had no social life. I had nothing going on. And the craziest thing about it is back in 2018 when I was going through all that, I still tried to maintain friendships and social lives that I've had. I've always been a very cold and distant type of person. I wanted to build relationships, build friendships, and just be a better version of myself. I was always closed off. I don't really go out. I don't really do much. And I got to a point where I was like, man, that's not the type of life I want to live. But I've been through a lot of things that made me move that way. And I just didn't want to continue to live like that. While I had no time for myself while I was working and going to school, I still tried to make time for people that I thought I really cared for and I thought that they cared about me too. I got to a point where I just couldn't function. I had no sleep. I had no social life. Even when I hung out with people on my day off, I was just running on fumes. I used to be driving home and I would fall asleep behind the wheel while I'm driving, and I had no time to do anything. And I would be at work, and I've had situations where I fell asleep standing up because I just couldn't function. I quit my job just so I could finish being a full-time student. Since I wasn't doing nothing, I just had a lot of money saved up, and I decided to take a year off from working and to just graduate school and chase my career path. This is where this story kicks off. So it's now 2019, and a lot of things happened, and all the money I had saved up from when I was working, it was completely gone. And I technically finished school, but I was missing one class, so I couldn't get my degree and I couldn't transfer to another school. I ended up getting an athletic scholarship to a university on a different state, but I couldn't go because I had insurance through my job, and since I had quit my job, I had no insurance. So I was stuck in a situation where I had no money, nowhere to go, like for school, and then I had a lot of people in my life that were going through a lot of things, and I made sure I gave them the time and the attention and whatever. And as soon as they got into a better position, everybody just dipped out of my life for no apparent reason. I woke up one day and I was just by myself, not to anything that I did wrong to anybody. I was just by myself. And I wouldn't say like I felt lonely per se, because I don't really get lonely. It's just I'm used to people coming and going out of my life. But I realized all the sacrifices I made and all the time I dedicated to other people when I could have been doing other things just because I cared. I was left in a situation where I always put others first before me. And then once they got to a better position, I was just left alone and I felt abandoned and betrayed. And that kind of fucked with me for a long time. I got to a point where I was just very lazy. I wasn't going to school. I wasn't working. I was just at the crib chilling, watching anime, just letting the days go by. And I couldn't tell you the difference between Monday and Sunday. Every day just felt like a blur to me. And before I knew it, a couple weeks had passed and I had a rude awakening in life. And this is where I had to pivot. I remember I was just sitting at home. I didn't know what I wanted to do. You just lay in bed and you just stare at the ceiling and you just contemplate your life, and you really sit there and look around and things just aren't going your way and you don't know how to fix it. All you do is wallow in your thoughts, but yet you still continue to do the same things that you do that's getting you nowhere. I remember I was just sitting there day after day with no motivation, no real path in life that I wanted to follow. I didn't know how to feel about the situation. I was so used to things not going how I wanted. I just accepted that's just how life is. No matter what I want, it's just not gonna go my way. So I just sat there and all I did was just stay in bed and watch shows all the time. And I'll never forget this day. It was 2019, and I believe that at that time, that was the hottest recorded summer in Florida for a very long time. I had went to bed at 2 or 3 a.m. I woke up around 1 or 2 o'clock. And my mom had came home from work. She gets up at 5 a.m. to go to work, and then she gets back home around like 2 or 3 o'clock. And the AC in her car had broke down. And she needed to get it fixed. And I knew I had a lot of money saved up, so I checked my account, and that was the first time ever in my life I've ever seen my account hit the negatives. I think it has a bill or something to do with it, and it just automatically took the money, and I didn't have it in my account. And it was the first time in my life I've ever seen my account in the negatives. And my mom had came home, and I kid you not, her shirt was soaking wet with sweat, like she was doing a full workout. And I watched her come home after waking up at 5 a.m. to go to work, drive home in this heat with no AC. And then she gets home and she knows I wasn't like feeling like my mother could just tell when you're not yourself. And then she was just worried about me, and she's asking how I'm doing, like what's going on, like how I'm feeling. And I'm just watching her talk to me like I'm in a third person, and she's just talking to me, and I'm just watching her sweating, worrying about me. And then she's like, oh, did you eat? You want me to make you something? And like, do you need money to get anything? And I'm like, bro, I'm a grown man. I'm 21 years old, and here goes my mom after going to work from 5 a.m. to 2, 3 o'clock, coming home, and she's asking me if I want to eat something. Should she cook me something? And I couldn't even afford to get her AC fixed. I tried to brush her off because I felt so bad. I didn't want to continue. I couldn't look her in the eyes while she was talking to me. I just felt so embarrassed as a man, just watching her try to help me in any way that she thought she could. Like, it was a good gesture, but I just felt ashamed of myself, and the feeling of like embarrassment was just too much. And I just brushed off the conversation. And I remember she had to go grocery shopping or whatever. And I was like, yo, like, at least take my car. My car ain't the best, but at least it got AC. And I'm already sweating anyway. What's the AC gonna do for me? I'm going down the street, I'm gonna grab some things. I just watched her leave the house, and then I watched her like get in the car and drive in. And as she left to go grocery shopping in a car, like sweating, and I just sat there and I broke down and I cried. And I just felt less of a man in that situation where I couldn't even help my own mother even if I wanted to. And I'm just like, what am I really doing with my life? I have the same 24 hours a day that anybody else has, and she just came from work. She's out here working, doing what she needs to do. And I ain't do nothing but just sit and feel pity for myself and just laying in my bed doing nothing. So I just sat there, and I just reflected on everything I've been through, all the people I put ahead of myself, how'd I get myself in this situation where I have nobody to rely on but myself. I have no type of bread. I have no ambition to do anything at all. And I just sat there what am I really doing at this point? If this is how my life is gonna go, I might as well just die. You feel me? What am I really doing with my life? The rest of the day, I just sat there in silence. I put my phone down. I didn't talk to anybody. I don't think I even ate that day. I just sat there and all I did was just think about like, how the fuck did I get here? Why am I in this situation? Where did it all go wrong? I've always lived my life since I was like 15, 16. I made a decision where I don't want to live my life with regret. Every decision I make, I want to stand on it, no matter if it goes wrong or right. So when I really sat there and I was thinking about like, how did I get up in that situation? I was like, every decision I've made to get here, I stood behind, whether it was right or wrong. I'm the reason I'm in this situation. And I can't regret it either, because every time I made a decision, I believed at that point in time it was the right decision to make. So how the fuck did I make all the right decisions and still end up in the worst situation possible? And then I really just sat there and then I'm just like, you know what? No matter how this shit goes, I refuse to be in this situation. I remember telling myself, this is the last time I'm ever gonna let money be a problem in my life. I don't care if I die in the process, whatever I gotta do to get paid, I'm gonna do it and make sure this situation never happens again. And then I also remember too, I made a decision to not get involved in the streets and doing a bunch of like certain shit that would jeopardize my freedom for money, you feel me? And it's not that I'm against getting money in that type of fashion. It's just, realistically speaking, it's just, if you have common sense, you can't really have that type of money and not get caught up with it. You can't go from not having a job or you working at a McDonald's or whatever job you work at that's not making that much money, and out of nowhere you're having hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account. You're gonna get indicted by the feds. You're gonna go under investigation. You can't spend the bread because you can't prove how you got it. And to launder money when you're that young, you just can't do it because you don't have the means to really get bread in that type of fashion, clean the bread and really put it towards whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, I didn't really care about money at that point in time. I just wanted to have money to leave behind for my family because I thought I was going to die young regardless. So I didn't really care about me having money because I could easily have money, but how can I give that money to those I love without consequences? I was like, you know what, bro, I already made a decision to not go that route and I'm going to stick to it. And then I remember before I stopped working, I was working jobs, but they were just cheap jobs where I was getting paid $10 an hour, $9 an hour. You can't do anything with that type of money. So I was like, you know what? I'm down bad, but I refuse to sell myself short. The next job I get, I refuse to get a job that's less than $15 an hour. I don't care what it takes. I'm worth more than $10 an hour. I've slaved away at these companies, and I remember working overtime, doing a bunch of shit for these people I work for, and a lot of people were making it off my hard work, and I never got promoted, no nothing. I just watched other people prosper off of my hard work, and I just realized that's how corporation works. The person at the bottom works the hardest, while the person who manages them takes all the benefits. And I was like, I refuse to work like a slave just for somebody else to get the benefits. I know my worth. At that time, $15 was a lot to me. I just thought you could do a lot with $15 an hour at that time. So I remember I deleted every single app of my phone, every dating app. I deleted every single gaming app I had on my phone. And I was in a situation where I used to always text people first, see how they doing, not even to ask them anything. If I fuck with you and I got your number, I don't hear from you, I'm just gonna hit you up just to see how you doing. I've been in a situation where I've had friends that are suicidal, that are depressed, that have mental disorders, and I understand the pain that comes with it. But it got to a point where I realized I was always that person that made sure that person was good. And if I go 2-3 weeks or a month without hitting that person up, I would never get a text back in response. I'm like, that's interesting. And I got to a point where I couldn't even afford to reach out to anybody because I was the one that was in a situation where I was down bad. I can't, even if I wanted to, I can't help anybody else if I can't help myself. And it also taught me a very important reason. A lot of the people that you think are a good influence in your life and you think they're always going to be there for you, when you really look at it, they're never really there for you. Since you're always there for them by proxy, it just looks like they're there for you, and that's not the case a lot of times. So that's something I ended up learning during that time. But after I made that decision, I decided I switched up my resume. I was on Google figuring out how I could get my resume to appeal to these jobs, how to rewrite it, and get a job that I know that I'm qualified for. I remember before I started anything, It was like a gut feeling that told me that whatever you do, no matter how shit goes, don't take any job that's less than $15 an hour. After I updated my resume, I watched a lot of videos on how to make your resume sound good. I talked to some professors that I knew at the time that I still had contact with, and I did everything that I could to get a legitimate job so I can get paid. It got to a point where I was uploading 100 resumes a day. I'm not even making this up. I would wake up at 7 a.m. and I would start my day by just submitting resumes nonstop. And people make it sound so easy. Just get a job and things will work out. I was getting job offers, but every job that reached out to me was some shady ass job or a restaurant job, and it's $10 an hour. And I was like, nah, that's not what I'm doing. I'm worth more than that. I kept on telling myself, I'm worth more than that. I kept on submitting so many resumes, and every time I just kept getting declined. And this kept on happening for a couple of weeks. And it's just, I don't care how much motivation you have or how much self-confidence you have, being denied so much, it just breaks your confidence. And it's every time one of these jobs declines me, it's like they're telling me to my face, I'm not worth shit, I'm not worth this. You get what I mean? You just felt worthless in the process. And I remember I got to a point where every time I submit 20 resumes, I'll get 15 back saying decline, and some of them were instantly. And I didn't even notice it. This shit was just tearing me down mentally and emotionally. I was submitting my application, and as I was typing and changing things around, I just noticed I was crying in the process. And I just kept on remembering, I'm like, man, just keep submitting these resumes, something is gonna work out. And I'm telling myself, yo, I'm worth more than this. I'm worth more than what these people are offering me. And I'm submitting these resumes, and I have tears pouring down my face, and I'm just thinking about what's going on. I'm still broke, my family still got shit going on, and I'm just getting declined by these jobs. And I'm sitting there like, bro, I'm not worthless. I'm qualified for these jobs. There's no reason I shouldn't be getting these positions. And I'm crying while I'm doing this shit. And it just broke me down mentally and emotionally. And I'm thinking about not just the job, but I'm thinking about all the people that I had in my life that just walked out on me, that treated me like I'm a stepping stone to get where they need to be. And once they get to where they need to be, they just left me in the dust. And I'm just sitting there. Is this all I am to everybody in my life? I'm just a stepping stone for them to succeed. And once they get where they need to be, I'm just tossed to the curb. And it's just that constant rejection after rejection. And the only voice of reason I had was, yo, I'm worth more than this. Every day, every time I sent the resume, every time I seen the decline, all I told myself was, I'm worth more than this. And I did this for about 2 to 3 weeks. So I started applying for these jobs. I'm just gonna give you a timeline so you can really understand what was going on. I started applying for these positions. I wanted to switch my life. It was towards the end of July of 2019, late July. And then this goes on for a couple of weeks. I'm not even getting any responses. And then some way, somehow, I think while I was submitting these resumes, I saw something that helped me out, and I restructured my resumes. And then luckily for me, actually these companies started replying and actually offering me interviews. And then shit just started going better. I'm like, you know what? Okay, so I'm having these interviews, and then I go to a couple of them and I just bomb the interviews because I don't know how to properly interview. Every job I've had prior to this, somebody helped me get that job, and they already pre-hired me. I just showed up there for shows, but I already got hired before I did an interview, so I didn't really know how to interview for real. So these few jobs that actually gave me a chance, I went to the interviews and I bombed them, and then I learned through trial and error, you know, here's what to say, here's what not to say. And then I figured out a game plan on how to go through these interviews and get a job. And I finally watched a couple of videos on YouTube, and I realized exactly what I needed to say and how to dress and how to look to get these jobs, and I did everything correctly. And then I remember for a quick moment, after I really felt the confidence, I learned everything that I needed to do to get into a better position. I got a couple of interviews, phone call interviews, and I killed it. I'm talking about these people wanted to hire me on the spot, but they had to do a final interview or whatever. Just for paperwork purposes, they always have to do a third interview. But after I figured everything out, I got hired on the phone for 5 jobs. And I felt so happy, and I felt like shit was finally starting to work out for me. And then I remember one very important thing. I'm black in America, You feel me? And I almost forgot for a second. And I talked to these people over the phone. They're like, yeah, the way it's looking, you're the #1 candidate. You just got to come in for formalities. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is it. This is what I was waiting for. This is when things starts to turn around and start working in my favor, right? And I started going to these interviews, and then I just don't get the jobs. Now I'm just confused. And I noticed this kept on happening. I'll get a call, I'll interview over the phone, they're excited to see me, and then I come in person. The vibes are completely weird. I'm still killing the interview. I'm giving all the right answers to these questions they're asking me. I'm doing everything I need to. And then after I leave, I'll just get an email like, oh, you didn't qualify for the position, or we decided to go with somebody else. And I'm just confused. You were just about to hire me over the phone before you even met me. And then as soon as I come in for the interview, I just don't get the job, even though I'm qualified for it. And then I finally start putting two and two together. Every time I go to these interviews, everybody that's interviewing me is white. And every time I would go into these job positions and there's other candidates, I'm usually one of 2 or 3 black people there, and there's 20 candidates waiting to get interviewed. I'm answering these questions exactly how they wanted to. I'm articulating my words. I typically slur when I speak. I'm articulating every single word, and I go to these interviews in some way, somehow, I just never get the job. And then I figured out the pattern that it's just because I'm being interviewed by these white people, and every time I walk in the room, it's just automatically, they just get turned off that I'm there. They're just like, oh man, another one. They're just waiting for me to leave at that point, and they're just asking me questions just to ask it at this point. They don't really care what I say. They already made the decision as soon as I walk through the door. What else can I do? You get what I mean? I dressed the part. My resume's on point. I did the phone interview perfectly, but once you see me, I just automatically lose the job. There's nothing I can do. I can't bleach myself in and get white privilege, you feel me? So I get to a point where I'm like, you know what, bro? This is America. It comes with the territory. I knew racism existed. I just never experienced it like that because where I'm from is mostly black people in that area. So I was like, okay, it is what it is. And these jobs are typically towards more white suburbs. That's why they're paying so well. So I was like, you know what, bro? It just is what it is. I'm gonna just roll with the punches. It just comes with the territory. So I keep doing these interviews, and it's the same endless process. I get called, I kill the phone interview, they see me, I get rejected. And it got to a point where I just got so mad, and I was like, I'm going through all this bullshit, and I'm putting all this work, all this effort, all this dedication to drive to these interviews, carry myself a certain way, and just to get rejected for some shit that's out of my hand. And every time I go home, I'm sitting in my room just staring at my ceiling, just thinking life. And every day I'm like, how did I get in this position? You feel me? I'm just trying to keep myself alive and telling myself, just keep pushing through it. Just keep going to the next interview, keep going to the next interview. This kept on going for 3 months. What more can I do to get out of this situation? I felt so hopeless. The only jobs that are willing to hire me are these fucking dead-end jobs that pay terribly. And then every time I see a good paying job, I'm automatically off the list. I just woke up one day and I was like, man, fuck it. You know what I mean? There's nothing else I can do. I done did what I had to do. And these people don't want to give me an opportunity. I'm going to take it by any means necessary. At this point, I don't care how I get the money or where it's going to take me, but I'm going to get money regardless. Since y'all don't want me to do this the right way, I'm going to do it by any means necessary. And I just stopped applying for jobs just that day. But I still had some interviews lined up. I'm a man of principle. I was like, you know what, bro? I already set up the appointments to go get interviewed. And even though 999 companies did me wrong, these remaining few companies ain't doing me wrong yet. You feel me? I ain't believe they wasn't going to do me wrong, but I'm not going to judge them based off the decisions of others. No, even if I had the gut intuition that was telling me it's going to be the same shit. So I just thugged it out. I decided to just go to these final interviews. I had already knew when I walked in the room for the remaining ones. I already knew the vibes. It was just the same vicious cycle. I walked in the room and I was like, you feel me? I just rolled with the punches, played along. I ended up going to this final job interview that I had. And before that job interview, I had hit up somebody I know and they had put me onto something. And I just knew no matter how the shit goes, I don't care how that day had ended, the following day, I was gonna get some bread. It was no question about it. I was gonna get me some bread that next day, you feel me? I had once an interview, it went exactly as I expected. I got rejected, I went home, I took a nap. It was an early ass interview, it was like 8 a.m. or some shit like that, and I had to drive for 45 minutes each way. So by the time I had went, interview, got rejected, came back home, I was tired as fuck. I just woke up to a phone call. I didn't know the number, so I just picked it up, and it was another company. And then they were like, hey, we've been looking at your application. You applied to us a couple weeks ago. Are you still looking for a job? And I was like, yeah, bro, like, I'm still looking for a job. And they're like, yeah, like there was an issue with however our trainings are set up, yada, yada. And we would love the opportunity to have you on board. When are you available for an interview? I can actually interview you over the phone right now and then see where this goes. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that right now. So I interview over the phone, same old, love the attitude, love the vibe over the phone. Man, we want to see you in person to do an in-person interview. I'm like, yeah, bro. When do you have a date available? He's, matter of fact, somebody that was supposed to interview that had canceled. Can you come in 2 hours to do this interview? We already have the spot filled and everybody's already there. That person just canceled literally today. Would you be able to make it? And I was like, yeah, bro, like, why not? So I pulled up to the place and I'm doing an interview and everything was going really well. I was being interviewed. There was like 4 white people and this one black shorty. They're really fucking with me and how I'm answering these questions and how I'm doing my thing. And then for some reason, all these white people was really fucking with me. But the one black shorty that was there, she was just giving me a hard time. Every time they would ask me a question and I would answer it exactly how they wanted it to be answered, she would hit me with some left field type of question or a crazy ass rebuttal, trying to throw me off my pivot a little bit just to shake me. And I'm rolling with the punches, I think, very quickly on my feet. So she's asking me these questions. I'm answering them things. I'm ducking the bullshit that she's asking and I'm doing good. As I'm going through this interview, I just keep getting agitated. It's just, I see these people laughing in my face, trying to show love. I'm like, bro, it's all a facade to me. And I'm just getting agitated. And then there's one black shirt out of all the people here, even if it's a facade, you my kinfolk, you feel me? At least play along and roll along with the punches. Even if you know you're not gonna hire me, at least don't be a dick about it. So I just felt more disrespected that she was one of the main ones trying to give me a hard time, as if she was trying to say, I don't want you to get the job. They was really rocking with me. And then the final question that they had asked, I answered it. And then they were like, oh yeah, like we have some other people to interview, this and the third. We'll look at your application and then we'll get back to you. And then before they shook my hand so I can leave, and she was like, yeah, speaking of that, I just want to be completely honest, right? And then the room just got dead silent. You're on the top of the list, and the only other person that you're really competing with, honestly, with this interview has the same type of charisma, has the same type of drive as you. And the only thing that separates you and that person is that person has experience in this and you don't. So why in the world would you expect us to pick you over that person? I don't know if it was just all the bullshit I was going through that had just piled up and just her pissing me off during the interview. The way she asked that question just rubbed me the wrong way. It's just the accumulation of everything that I was going through. People just abandoning me and people switching up on me. And all these companies just telling me I'm not worth these positions. I'm not worth to invest in. I felt people in the world just viewed me as somebody who was worthless, and that shit had pissed me off. And I felt the way she was asking that question was basically saying the other person was worth more than me. And if that person is worth more than me and I can't get this position, I ain't really worth shit for her. You get what I mean? I typically articulate when I'm at a job interview and I'm very eloquent, but the way she had asked that question, I just said, fuck all that, to keep it honest. And I just looked at her, I sat down, and I was like, why wouldn't you pick me? Just like that, why wouldn't you pick me? I don't care who you're interviewing. None of these people are me, and there will never be anyone like me. I don't care if somebody has thousands of years of more experience than me. That person is still not me. Nobody came out the womb knowing how to do some shit. And I don't care who you are, whatever I'm doing, if I put my all into it, I'm going to learn how to do whatever I'm putting my all into. And not only that, I'm going to become the best at it. No matter who you're betting up against me, that person will never be me. The same reason you're asking me, why would you choose me? I'm gonna ask you this, why wouldn't you pick me? And I just looked at her and the whole room got quiet. And I'm mad as hell at this point. I was trying to fake a smile during the interview. I was just straight face, just looking at her. And I'm like, no matter how it goes, whether you pick me or not, that's gonna be your decision. And that's something that you have to live with. that you missed out on an opportunity. I know my worth and I know what I'm capable of. You can stack me up against whoever is on that list of resume. You can even stack me up to every single one of you in this room. Once I learn something and I put my all into it, there is nobody on this God's green earth that could be better at that one thing they need once I put my all into it. So I'm gonna ask you this, why wouldn't you pick me over that person? And I just sat there, and for the first time during the interview, all the white people got quiet and nervous, and she smiled. And I was like, all right, bro, you fucking weirdo. So I was like, fuck it, bro. So after that shit was done, they shook my hands or whatever. They was like, yeah, we're gonna take a look at the resume, finish these interviews, and then we'll give you a call to let you know if we're gonna be moving forward with you or not or whatever, right? And as I'm leaving the room, I'm like, all right, bro. I'm mentally just said, these fuck niggas ain't gonna hire me. So I'm walking to my car. I'm hitting up my dog to link up with him so that way we can figure out what we was gonna do the following day to get paid, you feel me? Work this shit out and maneuver correctly so we don't end up in a fucked up situation. As I'm walking to my car, I'm just waiting for that email that's saying we're moving on to the next participant. I didn't get any notifications. I'm driving to the crib, bro. I'm 5 minutes from the crib and I get a fucking call. And it's the shorty from the job interview, right? And I'm just pick up the call. I'm like, yo, thank you for coming to the interview. I just wanted to reach out to you to let you know what's gonna happen next. She was like, before I continue, I just want to say I'm sorry for the way I was asking you these questions during the interview. I know I was being a little bit hard on you, but when you walked in the room, the way you were carrying yourself and the way you were talking, I really believed in you, and I just wanted to see if you was really that type of person. It's one thing to carry yourself with confidence, but can you still have that confidence when things aren't going your way? So that's why I was asking you all these tough ass questions. And I wanted to be the one to personally call you because I'm actually gonna be your manager once you get this job, and I wanna let you know that one, you were hired for this job, and I'm not trying to say it's because of me, but just know out of all 5 of us in the room that interviewed you, I was the only one vouching for you to get the job over everybody else because of what you had said at the end. And it just goes to show you, because as I was sitting there and I was so upset at her for the way she was treating me during the interview while these white people were smiling in my face, she was the one really looking out for me. And she was like, every single one of them was coming at me. Yeah, he has confidence, he has that, but he just doesn't have the experience. As soon as you walked out that door, I was defending you so you can get that position. I just want to congratulate you on getting the job. I remember hanging up the phone. I was just so confused and so shocked that I had just pulled over just to process what the fuck had just happened. And right when I had decided to go against everything that I had stood for at that time and put myself in a position to risk my life and risk my freedom to get paid after trying to get paid the correct way and just going through all these rejections, I had hit my lowest point. And these people broke me down to the point where I had to be the only person that believed in myself, no matter how many no's I got, to keep pushing and to keep believing in myself and to keep telling myself that I'm worth something. You feel me? That I'm not just a fucking nobody. When I had finally hit that low point, that's when it worked out. And it had just proved something to me. No matter how bad things get, or no matter how low you get, no matter how broken you get, you just gotta keep taking that extra step and you gotta keep believing in yourself. And that was the most difficult thing I've ever had to go through, because right now I know my self-worth. I've been through so much and I know what I'm capable of. I can walk in any room and carry myself with confidence. I know what I got myself into. I know what I got myself out of. I know every situation that made me who I am to this day. That has given me confidence. But at that time, I was just going through a lot and nothing was working out my way. So it was almost impossible for me to have confidence based on my experiences, because all I faced was losses when I was younger. And even though I had never won anything ever in my life up to that point, I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, no, I am worth something. I'm somebody and I'm priceless, you feel me? And I had to believe in that to the depths of my core, because had I not believed in that I was worth something through all that bullshit, I wouldn't have been able to get past all those rejections and just continue to keep pushing forward. Things were still hard after I got the job, but after overcoming all of that and just still having confidence in myself, it made me face every single situation with confidence, even when I had nothing to my name. The only thing I had was drive, ambition, passion, and confidence. So that was the only thing that got me through that tough time. And when she had called me to tell me I got hired for that position, she basically told me the only reason that she hired me was because my confidence was so crazy. She had no choice but to hire me. She even told me she ain't never in her life heard somebody say, why wouldn't you hire me? Even though I fought for you to get that position, don't ever get it twisted and believe that I gave you anything. You earned that position solely the way you carried yourself and that confidence you exude. Even when nobody was really believed in you, you made me believe. And because you made me believe in you, I was able to make them believe in you too. The reason I'm making this video is because things still were hard for me after I got the job. But just because after hearing that, I was able to face every other situation I've been through with so much confidence, because now I got the job, I got the bread coming in. I just knew once I stuck to a budget and stuck to a plan, the money's not gonna become a problem no more. That made me move differently. That changed my way of thinking and changed the way I move. Everything started from that day, not just that day, but from that stretch of time. Everything that happened in those 90 days shaped me to who I am to this day. And I carry myself and move with a certain type of energy because I remember every time I hit a low point, I remember that situation. And I remember the only reason I got out of that situation is because I had nothing but confidence in myself. I had the dedication, I had the drive, and I put my head down and I did what I had to do to get in a better position. And another reason I'm making this video is because anytime you see these influencers, they're talking about, oh, I was down bad, I had to grind, whatever. They always tell you, yeah, I had to grind and do this, but what did you actually do to get you where you needed to be? What did you actually have to face? What was that one thing that broke you down entirely? And what was that one thing that kept on motivating you to keep pushing? I was getting rejected for 3 months straight. 3 months straight having people tell me to my face I ain't worth shit. Nobody hitting my line. For 90 days, nobody hit my line. It was just me, myself, and I in a room, and I had to make a decision, and that decision changed my life to this day. And that decision is probably the reason I have the motivation to make this music, to make this video. That's probably why I have the drive to create this podcast, to be who I am, to continue to do what I'm doing. And whoever is watching this, no matter what you're going through, no matter how down bad you are, no matter who believes in you or who doesn't believe in you, whether you have money or don't have money, whatever you got going on, if nobody believes in you, and if you look in that mirror and you believe in yourself, that's all you're gonna need. That's all you're gonna need. Once you believe in yourself, can't nobody take that away from you. And once you have that confidence and belief in your hands and you believe that wholeheartedly, whatever you want, you can definitely achieve it. I've been through it. And I'm telling you, it was hard. Having people constantly doubt you. Having people just abandon you. Just you by yourself, sitting in a room, looking at the ceiling, wondering how did you get here? Where did everything go wrong? It don't matter. It don't matter how you got there. It don't matter what caused everything to go wrong. One thing I remember, instead of asking myself, why am I in this situation? Why is it me? Why did this happen to me? Why is nothing going my way? I said, fuck that. I didn't ask myself why. No matter how down bad you are, never ask yourself why. It doesn't matter why you're in that situation. It never does matter. Even if you do have a valid reason for you to be in that situation and it wasn't your fault, it doesn't fucking matter. You're still in that situation. The why doesn't fucking matter. There's 2 questions you gotta ask. How can I get out this situation? And what do I have to do to get out of that situation? How and what? It doesn't matter what the why is. Once you figure out what you need to do to get out that situation, you gotta find out how to implement that to get out that situation. It's not gonna be easy. You're gonna break down. You're still gonna be by yourself. But it doesn't matter. As long as you wake up and you look in that mirror and you have that confidence and belief in yourself, it's gonna work out every single fucking time. It might take time, but it don't matter. Even if it take time, okay? If you do nothing, what's gonna happen? Time is still gonna pass regardless. If you sit down and do nothing, time is still passing. I'd rather take the chance and do everything I can and hopefully over time shit work out than me just sitting there in my own pity crying, waiting to kill myself. You feel me? If you're really looking at this video, I really just hope that these words really reach you. And moving forward, fam, I don't care who's against you, I'm with you. If you're watching this podcast and you're hearing what I'm saying and you're using that to better yourself and progress and really do what you need to do, I'm with you. We're in this together. I've been there and you've been there, so we've been there. If I can be here, then you can be here. I remember I was watching this I don't even remember buddy name. I was watching this influencer and he was just talking about all the wealth that he had. He was talking about his Lambo that he had just bought. He was talking about the crib that he had just got, flexing the AP on his wrist, you feel me? And right when I was about to skip that video, bro, he said some shit that I really fuck with, bro. That nigga said, hey, I got the car, I got the whip, I got the watch, I got the bitches. Only thing I'm missing is you. It do get lonely at the top. The only reason it's lonely at the top is because you're not here with me. There's plenty of space up here. What are you going to do to be right next to me in this situation? There's more than enough success for everybody to have, bro. If you're watching this video, I'm nowhere near where I want to be in life when it comes to success, but every day I'm getting a step closer, you feel me? And I always thought I had to make it before I could motivate people to make it too. I always thought like I had to have all that shit, that short wealth and success for me to start motivating other people. But one thing I've noticed, the people that motivate me the most are the people that I saw in my shoes that made it, or that are still on the way and I'm watching them make their moves. So as I'm going through this process and as I'm making these steps to success, I really hope whoever's watching this is taking the steps with me. It's not just me taking those chances. We're taking these chances and we're on the same mission. So if you're watching this podcast, if you see me doing something, it's not just me. We're doing this together. Whatever mistakes I make, use that to better yourself and not make that mistake. You know what I'm saying? So just keep pushing. And no matter how bad shit gets, it's always going to get better. And I'm living proof of that. And you're going to be living proof of that too. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for watching this video. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. I got more coming soon. And take care.